So today we are going to have social studies and we are going to discuss the story of the Ottomans Empire. Now, for the beginning of this unit, we said that we studied that some empires existed in Europe, and some of these empires, like the Romans, was one of the biggest and strongest empires that ever came to Europe and covered most of Europe. We have also Greeks before them. It started in Greece and then it extended for many places. We have also, after the Romans, we have the Germans, and we said that the Germans came from the Roman Empire and they existed in Germany until the end of First World War, and then the German Empire was vanished to become what? To become a regular country. Now we have another important empire during history, and this empire, it existed in Europe, but guess what? Those people, they were Muslims. So we have the first Muslim empire right here that reached Europe, which is the Ottomans. The Ottomans, it means in Arabic العثمانيون أو الإمبراطورية العثمانية. The Ottomans Empire was the last empire for the Islamic regions. Because after that, you know that all of the Islamic countries, all of them become dependent country. Each country have different ruler and different government and different king. But before that, if you go back to history, before 900 years or 800 years, we had an empire that ruled all the Arabian and the Islamic countries. This empire, it's called the Ottomans Empire. Okay, the Ottomans Empire was one of the biggest and strongest empires. Why? Because this empire, it reached 3 continents: Europe, Africa, and Asia. That's why it's really important. Not only this, but the time of this empire is magnificent, because this empire is the most empire who lasted for many years, more than the other empires that we have in the Islamic world. So who are the Ottoman Empire? Ottoman Empire, it's an Islamic empire that lasted for about 700 years. So if I ask you how much time they last as empire, they last for 700 years. So this is what is important about it, that it wasn't for 1 year or 2 years or 100 years. No, it's 700 years, ruling all of those areas. You see, this part is Asia, Saudi Arabia and some part of Iran, Baghdad, Iraq, Syria. All of this is from the continent of Asia. And then it took also some part of Turkey. Here we have Iran, we have Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkey. Some part of it is Asia. All of these areas are Asia. This is Asian countries. And then also it took what? It took from the Europe. This is the Europe. This is the Europe. It took this part from Europe, which is like Greece. And then after that, we have Romania, we have Serbia, we have Albania. All of these countries are what? Are also Hungary, Austria-Hungary, most of the people in there. We reached also Vienna. All of these people, they were Muslims. A lot of people there were Muslims. And then in Africa, if you go for Africa, this is Africa. We took all of this green part of Africa. We have it from Somalia until Djibouti, until we have to Egypt, and then Libya, and then Tunis, Algeria, Morocco. All of these places are for the Uthmanic or the Ottoman Empire. So this Ottoman Empire lasted for about 700 years and was one of the most important players in the history that affected history. And they survived from the year of 1299 until 1922. So you see, subhanAllah, it's the same number, but we just flipped it. This is one of the things that really is strange and odd in history. It's the same day that they started, or the same year that they started, the same exact number that was the year that they ended. But we just flipped the numbers. So it lasted for about 700 years. Okay, what is this empire? What covered? What type of lands it covered? Countries in the southeastern Europe, which is in here. This is southeastern, this is Europe. and this is south of Europe, which is Greece, Romania, Serbia, Austria, Hungary. All of these countries, they were in the south of eastern of Europe. They were taken by the empire. Also, Western Asia. If you go, this is all of this is Asia. In the west, they took all of this west part to the empire. And then also the north of what? Of Africa. North of Africa, this is Africa. We have these countries, Libya, Tunis, Algeria, all of these countries. Part of the Ottoman Empire, which was known also of the Turkish Empire. There's another name of the Ottoman Empire. Sometimes we say about it the Turkish Empire. Why? Because the Ottoman Empire, when it started where? It started in Turkey. This is Turkey. All of this is Turkey, okay? So they started in there. So the people of Ottoman Empire, they were Muslims, but they were not Arabs. They were Turkish people. So they don't talk Arabic, they talk Turkish, okay? But they are Muslims. So they took all the Arabian countries because they are Muslims. So we have the same religion, let's be in the same country. So this is why they separated in the Arabian countries more than the others. Okay, flip the page. The empire was able to extend toward distant lands overseas, which declared allegiance to the Caliph or Ottoman Sultan. When a country declares allegiance, it is usually considered an ally, and it is expected to apply the rules set by the main empire. It becomes completely loyal to the empire. So imagine right here, this is the Turkish country or the Ottoman Empire, and they wanted to extend their land. This is their land, okay? They wanted to extend. So where did they go? They go for the south of Europe, east of Asia, and north of Africa. They try to go there and to tell the people, we want to take your land and we want to rule you. And who is the stronger? The stronger is the Ottoman Empire. At that time, it was the strongest one. Some of the countries near of them, for example, let's say the country of Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary, it's a big empire and country at that time. When the Ottoman Empire go there to extend and to take over that country, because you know, during history, if you have a big empire or a strong empire, the strong empire will go to attack the weakest empire and to take over the land, okay? Because they want to extend their place. This is what happened to the Ottoman Empire. When they went for the Austria-Hungary, some of the people, the Ottoman Empire wanted to take the land, but when they take the land, usually the Muslim people, when they take the land, they tell them, you have two choices, whether to become a Muslim in the same religion of us, so you will be our friend and we will never attack you, and you will be under our rule, and khalas, we will not take anything from you. Or you stay with your same religion that you have. If you are Christian or Jewish or whatever, and you don't want to change your religion, then it's your choice. Don't change it, but you have in return to pay for us some money. Why pay the money? Because we are going to take your land. Can you defend yourself and not to take your land? No, we can't. We don't have army. Or some of the countries, they have army, but it's weaker than the Ottoman Empire. So what they are going to do, they are going to say, we are not going to fight you. But since you don't want to fight us and we want your land, and you don't want to give us the land, then you have to give us money. Why the money? Because we are the stronger than you, and we are going to protect you from all the other enemies. You will be our ally. What does it mean, ally? It means our friend. In this way, this is the only way that I can consider you a friend for me. Whether you be in my religion, so you will be Muslim like me. So if you are Muslim like me, I can't attack you because my religion say, al-Muslim al-Muslim haram damuhu wa maluhu wa irduh. So I can't attack you. If you don't want to be in my same religion, then stay with your religion, but you have to pay me money. Why? Because I will protect you and you will be my friend. So you have both ways to choose whatever you like. And guess what? The Ottoman Empire were the only civilization that give you this choice. having whether to change your religion or to pay money. Other civilization, they never give you this choice. They will come to your land, they will kill the men, they will take the woman and take over your land and rule the land without taking your permission with anything. The only civilization that started to give the choice for people were the Islamic empire. That's why it extended for many places and many lands. One of these countries, and many of these countries, they didn't want to change their religion, so they become what? Allegiance. What does it mean, allegiance? Allegiance, my girls, it means that you are going to give me your loyalty, which means that you are going to swear that you will be loyal for the Ottoman Empire. If somebody came from your side to attack me, you are going to inform me and to be with my side. If you are don't, if somebody wants to say something about me, you will tell me. So allegiance, it means that ally. What does it mean, ally? It means to be what? To be a loyal friend. To rule by the main, it becomes completely loyal to them. So you will be ally. What does it mean, ally? Friend. So Ottoman Empire, some of the countries, they invaded them and took the whole land for themselves and they become the ruler of them. And some of the lands, they didn't took the land from the people, they leave it for the people. However, you have to give us the money and you have to be under our rule. Yani when we give you law or rule, you have to apply it in your land. Why? Because you are under our army and under our protection. So this is how the Ottoman Empire extended. Another information about this country or this empire. Who was the first person who established it and why we call it the Ottoman Empire? We call it the Ottoman Empire because it was established by the first person who came in there to establish that empire. His name is Osman. Osman. Okay, Osman, they call it in Egypt Osman or Turkish, but his name is Uthman. Uthman. That's why we call it الدولة العثمانية. It comes from the first person who established that country or that empire. His name is Uthman the First. The Empire Uthman the First, the emperor, he was a very nice and dynamic and brave ruler and emperor. He established a governmental system to protect all the people who's living in his country and the people who live in other countries beside him and who are from different religion. This is the person who established this system. He said, even though if the people around us or living in the same country with us, if they are not Muslims, that doesn't mean that they don't have rights. They have the right to live and they have the right to for the protection, and we are going to protect them and to live with them. So some of the people who live in those areas, and you will live in your house, your neighbor will be Christian or Jewish or Hindu. There's a lot of religions. So the governmental system that he has is what is to protect all the religious minorities in his country or in his empire. What does it mean, a minority? It means those who are less in the number. Those who are less in the number. We call it in Arabic al-aqalliya. We have majority. Majority, it means more in the number. For example, the majority of the class, they know how to speak English. Majority. Majority, it means most of the class. If I say minority of the class, minority comes from the word minor. It means that less number in the class don't know how to speak English. For example, okay, this is not real. This is just example. So minority, it means that one or two. Majority, it means all the number or most of the number. طيب. What happened? This is the Emperor Uthman. After his death, the empire extended until the eastern of Mediterranean, reaching the depths of Europe. So this is the Emperor Uthman. After he died, did the empire stay in the same? No, they actually extended to have more and more lands. And his sons and and grandchildren and his uncles, all of them, they started his same method, and they extended the empire to have more countries around them. This is the first emperor. This is one of the battle. It's called the Battle of Nicopolis. The Battle of Nicopolis, it was a battle between what? Between the Ottoman Empire on one side and the France, Hungary, and Venice on the other side. Who won at this war? The Islamic Ottoman Empire won, and they were the victorious. Okay, so this is how he conquered the other areas. He will make an army and go in there. If they resist, there will be a war. If they don't resist, he will ask for what? For some conditions, and then they will become the alliance of the Ottoman Empire. The expansion of the Ottoman, and this is the Battle of the Mohawks. What is the Battle of the Mohawks? It is a battle against the Hungarian, and the victorious again was for the Ottoman Empire. Actually, the Ottoman army, my girls, was one of the best and the strongest armies that ever went through history. Not only this, because they were also had a good religion and they have good faith in God. So every place they went in there, they were just thinking about making other people having the same religion to worship Allah. So that's why they were stronger than the others. So every battle they went for, they won. That's why. So the expansion of the empire was protected by a strong army and navy troops who watched out for all the trade routes in Europe and Asia. The expansion flourished as the years went by, reaching deeper into Africa and Europe. So the more the empire extended, the more places that you have to protect, and the more people who are entered inside your empire, which means that the responsibility now is bigger. So what you have to make a strong army to make sure that all the areas are secured with the army. This is one thing. Another thing, you have to make sure that there is enough money and food for all of those people to feed them and to make them happy. How to make them happy? To have jobs, to have work for them, to give them money every once in a while. So you have to make the people happy around you so they will stay your friends. What happened is now, because now the empire is extending more and more and more, and the Khalifa right here, we call the person who ruled the people from the empire, we call him Khalifa. The Khalifas of the Ottoman Empire, they were good at the beginning. They were people who really cared about Islam and about religion, about how to spread Islam among people and how to care for others. And then by time, there come their children and grandchildren. Those children, they weren't on the same side as their parents. يعني they didn't learn so much about Islam. So when the children came, and they raised in a family that is very wealthy and very famous. So the child becomes so spoiled. When those children become the ruler of the empire, they weren't so much strong as their fathers and their grandfathers. So what happened eventually, and most of them also took the money for their own welfare. They took the money to use it in their houses and expanding their houses and having better things in life, and they left the areas that were away from them. So what happened? They remained in this way, and each country, when they have an army, they will take their independence. Each country, they will say, we are now separated, we are now separated, we are now separated. And the empire become less and less. The empire becomes shrinking. Why? Because now they don't have a good army. Another reason, they don't have a good financial economy. And another reason, other enemies come from there, from the north of Europe. These enemies were France, Britain, we have also Germany. All of these countries in the north of Europe, they were afraid of the Ottoman Empire. Why? Because now Ottoman Empire is extending and it's coming for whole Europe. If they continue to conquer Europe like this, then after 10 years, all Europe will become Muslim. and will become from this empire. So they said we have to agree and to make a union, a group between all of us, and to attack this empire from all regions and places. So they attack the empire from the north, from the east, from the west, from every place, just to make the empire weaker and weaker and weaker. Let's see what happened next and how the empire of Ottoman Empire fell down. The empire began to decline when the French and British forces started strengthening and getting involved in several wars against the Ottomans. Many countries that were under the Ottomans' rule started becoming independent or were controlled by the British and French powers. So, how the country right now become weaker, as I told you? French, so France and Britain become alliance. They become friends. And when they become alliance with each other, what they did, they put their armies together and they started to attack from the south, from the west, from the east for the Ottoman Empire. Every time they attack, and now their forces are bigger and stronger than before. Every time they attack, they take this land and make it independent and separated from the whole the whole empire. And little by little, they took the land, small quantities until they got it and until they surround Turkey in the middle. And they took back all of these places. Now, what happened in the World War One? They remained like this until World War One. In the World War One, now the Ottoman Empire come inside the war, okay? And it become alliance. It become allied with what? With Germany. And we know that Germany lose. They lost the first war, World War. Who was with Germany? Of course, Ottoman Empire. When Ottoman Empire was lost with Germany, now all the countries, France, Britain, America, they started to divide the empire. And now they said for the Ottoman Empire, if you want to keep your country for yourself, you have to divide all the other countries or we will come to attack you. Now, at that time, Ottoman Empire was so weak and afraid, and of course, they got back to Turkey and they gave away all the other countries. And little by little, all of these countries become independent, يعني منفصلين. Every country become alone. At that time, Saudi Arabia become another country, Syria become another country, Iraq become another country. Each one of them become independent and separated country. Egypt become a country. So at that time, every country become alone, and then we become weaker and weaker and weaker. You have to know one thing, that always if you have unity and a group around you, you are strong. When you are alone, then you will be so weak. So that's why when this country become alone and all the other countries separated from them, nobody supported them, now Ottoman Empire becomes so weak and they fell down. And the Ottoman Empire was declared that it was gone and vanished at 1922 after 4 years of the World War One. Okay, after that, the Ottoman Empire, what happened to her? It became Turkey. It's become a country. They call it Turkey, and they don't have one of the royal family. No, they moved the royal family away, and they make a democracy system, which is to choose the president of the country by themselves, by the people. Those are the country of the Ottoman Empire, how they started and how they ended. If you flip the page to go for 146, you will find that in the Ottoman Empire, there were so many people and so many places that is famous at that time because they really cared about architecture, about design, about buildings and infrastructure inside the country. And these are some of the mosques. The mosques and the building that they made at the Ottoman Empire time, it was affected by the Islamic design and the Islamic architecture. So if you go for the mosques, you will find most of the mosques that with this style, which is the dome style, and they have a lot of minarets right here also. And this is the end. If you go for right now, until this day, if you go for Turkey, until this day, you will find these mosques still there until this time. This is the Mosque of Aya Sofia in Turkey. Aya Sofia was established in the time of one of the Turkish Sultan and one of the Turkish Khalifa. So until this day, we can find these buildings exist in there. One of the also achievement of the Ottoman Empire was also soup kitchen. What is soup kitchen? Soup kitchen, it's called soup kitchen because they make it what? As a food meals served for the poor people. Why would they call it soup kitchen? Because some of the Turkish people at that time, they will make a big bowl of soup and they will put it in the outside and they will call all the poor people or people who doesn't have money and they will give them free food for everybody, for him and his family and his other families. So nobody will stay hungry in Turkey. This is one of the best thing that happened in the Ottoman Empire, the mosques and also the open food for everybody. And thus, we finish the curriculum of the social studies of this semester. This is the last lesson we have for this semester. So I hope that you enjoy, I hope that you have enough information about history and about things.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? What do you think?
Yes. So nice.
Do you have any questions
Yeah.
related to that lesson?
No, thank you. No. We have a lot, something related to the graduation party.